Expert Frank Gaffney is the president of the Center for Security Policy. He was assistant secretary in the Reagan administration. Frank Gaffney, welcome to our BBC World Service News special. We heard from General Wesley Clark that there's lots of lessons to be learned. What for you is the main one?
The main lesson, I believe, is that in this so-called post-Cold War world, there are indeed people who wish the United States ill and who are willing to take steps and now obviously have an increasing arsenal of weapons with which to take steps to harm us. And I think, as the General said and others have mentioned, this does, I believe, constitute not only a material threat to the lives of Americans, the economic well-being of this country, but even its character as a free society, and it must be regarded as an act of war.
But did America need to have this kind of devastating attack to be told that it had enemies, and enemies with big arsenals? Certainly that they knew that already, because they were constantly talking about the threats to American cities.
I'm in the business of trying to educate the American people about the nature of the world, and I must tell you that I have been saying it. More important individuals than I, the president, our government, has, I think, been talking about it certainly under the present administration for some time. I don't think it's sunk in. I think that the general sense that America was superior to any other power in the world, even any combination of powers, caused many Americans to indulge in a delusion. And I'm afraid that some in high office probably encouraged that delusion by talking exclusively about our domestic priorities and how there really wasn't a danger that needed to be addressed by military readiness and so on. And I think we've lived under this delusion on borrowed time. Frankly, I'm surprised something like this, or worse, hasn't happened before now.
Of course, they've been fascinated by the sophisticated, state-of-the-art national missile defense shield. Do you think now they will concentrate on more basic threats of people who simply are ready to blow themselves up?
I hope that we will draw the conclusion from this experience that we must address both threats. The reality is we're spending somewhere, depending on to whom you speak, between 11 and $14 billion a year in this country on contending with these sorts of threats. It's inadequate in all likelihood. The lesson of this experience is that we need to spend more, we need to be doing more in a number of different areas, including intelligence, as you mentioned.
And yet, even as you say...
But I think the one area against which we have no defense whatsoever is against the threat that some of these countries that either support or perhaps represent the terrorists who perpetrated this act today are acquiring the means of inflicting infinitely greater damage on us or on our allies or on our forces overseas via ballistic missiles, and we need a defense against that too.
So sadly, no matter how much money is spent, how great the resolve, no guarantees that sadly it won't happen again. Frank Gaffney, thank you very much for joining us from the United States. So a lot of discussion of what was behind this devastating attack in the United States on the cities of New York and Washington, and still no sign yet about who's responsible for the attacks. But the finger of suspicion is already pointing at militants with connections in the Middle East. Our correspondent, Kylie Morris, has been canvassing opinion in the Gaza Strip.
We're so happy. And we're happy because this has happened to people who violate the rights of Palestinians. So let there be more explosions.
أنا عندي احتفالات عندي في المحل. الناس عندي بديش أبيع ولا أشتري اليوم مبسوط اليوم أنا.
My reaction? I'm having a party in my shop. I'm very happy, and I don't even want to sell anything. It's time they drank from the same cup as us. We are being killed day by day. Now it's their turn.
We are not happy. And we know that they suffer in the US today. But they know that we suffer too, and we've been silent. But I don't think that Palestinians can do this sort of thing. Believe me, this is not the work of Palestinians.
Let us be happy just for one day in our lives. Today is a catastrophe. It's our day. The US has got some of its own medicine. I don't know who did it, but we need more of the same for Israel.
Hard reaction from the streets of Gaza City in the Gaza Strip. Well, let's get an official Palestinian reaction. We're joined now on the line by Saeb Erekat, a senior Palestinian official. Saeb Erekat, your response, first of all, to some of the celebration in places like Gaza at news of this attack.
This is very, very isolated. I can assure you, Liz, that the majority of the Palestinian people are in deep shock, to condemn by the strongest possible terms this barbaric terrorist activities. As a matter of fact, 5 minutes ago, President Arafat telegraphed President Bush to convey to him our deepest sympathies with the American people and himself and the families of the victims. And he also added at the end of his telegraph that he puts all his humble capabilities under the service of the American president. It's shocking, it's unacceptable, and we utterly, strongly denounce such barbaric acts.
And you feel absolutely certain that no Palestinians were involved?
Liz, I don't think it's appropriate to start pointing finger at us. We don't want a repetition of what happened in Oklahoma. I'm sure that, I'm confident that the American authorities will produce sooner than later the results of their investigation. And I don't think you can hold the whole Middle East guilty until proven innocent. I can tell you that President Arafat, the Palestinian people, do condemn this terrible, horrible, horrifying act, and this cannot be accepted under any circumstances, and our full go to the American people.
And are you shocked and surprised that it's happened at all?
Yeah, it's shocking. It looks like a scene from Armageddon, the movie. You know, it's just it's believable. It's horrifying. It's shocking. And the only thing the Palestinian leadership and the Palestinian people, in their great majority, they're under deep shock, and they do condemn this terrorist activity.